Welcome to the all-new That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes a show business. We air new episodes each weekday morning, 9 a.m. on thatbusinessnetwork.com via the video stream, available at the end of the week on iTunes and on YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about shared workspaces. I have Frank Cottle with me today. He's the CEO of Alliance Virtual Offices, and you can learn more throughout the discussion at that website, alliancevirtualoffices.com. So, Frank, welcome to the program today.
Thank you, Jamie. Very good to be here.
So first off, just tell us a little bit about background about yourself and about this brand.
Well, we've been in the serviced office industry in one form or another since 1979. So we're one of the industry's first pioneers. We started by building buildings and putting serviced offices, business centers into those buildings, and then migrated to leasing space on a larger scale, and ultimately to becoming a technology company that runs in a model very much like Expedia, except for real estate.
Okay, and so people come to your offices basically to work. It's an office away from an office, or for many, it is their office, right?
All of the above. Yeah. All of the above and a few more.
Right. So tell us about, you started this in 1979. Did this idea spawn off another successful business model, or were you you said you're kind of the pioneer in this? Where did the idea come from?
I think executive suites or shared facilities have been around for a long time, since the late 60s. We wanted to enter the industry because we felt that we wanted to do a land banking project. And so the smallest amount of bricks and mortar that we could put on the biggest piece of land with the most future entitlement happened to be those fun little things called executive suites.
Yeah, and so today, talk to me about what Alliance Virtual Offices has become, the locations, the number of different outlets that you have.
Well, today we have 700 locations in 52 countries around the world.
Wow.
And so we've grown quite materially throughout the years. And what's nice about it is a lot of our clients can open an office. We like to say you can open an office in 10 countries, in 10 cities, in 10 minutes. And it's very, very simple. Just as easy, in fact, almost easier than booking a hotel room.
Now, is this an international company too? You mentioned different countries. Are you an international brand too?
Oh, yes. We're a global brand, and we've been around for a number of years, and quite a number of years. And like I say, we're operating in 52 countries.
So for people that are not, actively engaging in the shared workspace environment, give them a pitch or give them the reasons why they should consider shared workspace before going out there and leasing their own office.
Number one, price. Number two, flexibility. And what our industry does is we combine people, place, and technology into a single product and service that product or deliver that product through a highly flexible service agreement rather than a lease. If you were to lease space, as example, you might be tied up for 5 or 10 years in a long-term commitment, which becomes a liability on your balance sheet. That restricts your growth and your banking capabilities. You also have to hire, fire, manage staff, clerical, secretarial, administrative staff. We take care of that all for you. And we provide all the technology. I know in your studio, you've got a lot of things going on. Most businesses don't have the support staff for that. They don't have network management system administrators. They don't know how to manage a variety of bandwidth options or telephony options.
Now, I'm familiar with some of the workspace companies that are in the Tampa Bay market. They have, the common, workspaces and the equipment. But you mentioned, do you have people on staff that can also help them with IT-related issues?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if they really have that.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Most facilities today have on-site staff, or if not on-site staff, on-call staff. We're right now 3,000 plus miles apart, and yet I could easily go into your computer and fix anything I wanted, or you could come into mine. So we don't need to have people anymore. We just need to have access. But bandwidth is what drives all business today. And so supplying high levels of clean bandwidth is really what is the most important to most companies.
What about availability? Do you have a certain set hours that you can go in and out of the office? What about somebody who likes to go in the middle of the night? Is there any flexibility? How does that work with shared workspaces?
Well, there's a lot of different plans. If you're a permanent client in a shared workspace, then generally you have 24/7, 365 access. There are security systems that you have codes to, let's say, and that's a very, very common. If you're a day pass user, someone that is moving around between offices, then you're going to have normally business hour access. But it's interesting, and we've just been experimenting and been watching some experiments with what we call moonlight passes. There are an awful lot of people these days that are, in our gig economy environment, that are preferring to work 6 to midnight or a night shift, if you will. And sometimes people that are in startups, so maybe they have a startup team and they're all working at a day job, but they work on their startup plans during the evening hours.
Now, you've been involved in this business since 1979, so you've seen the habits and the cycles of the workforce. Let's talk a little bit about how the average worker spends their day, or how they work, today versus 10, 20 years ago. In 1979, more, of a traditional, probably a 9-to-5 environment. You're just talking about the moonlight pass here, people working more late hours. But what are some of the trends or differences that you've seen in the workforce since you've been in the business?
Well, starting at the top end, and let's use the global Fortune 1000 as a benchmark. If you were to look at even 5 or certainly 10 years ago, look at an annual report for a global Fortune 1000 company, you'd see that they have certain X revenues and X profits, you hope profits, et cetera. And they'd say, and we have 350,000 employees worldwide. Today, when you see that same annual report, you're going to see a different statement. You're going to see the same profits and revenues, and the numbers are going to remain about the same. But they're going to say they have a workforce of 350,000.
Interesting. Why the difference?
Because about a third of those people are now contractors. They're now
do they differentiate between that? I mean, because there's
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because you can hire a contractor anywhere in the world. We've all heard and are familiar with the term offshoring. Today, if I want to hire somebody, I find the best person wherever they are for the job. And I don't care where they live. I don't care where their office is. I know there'll be a business center or a co-working center somewhere near them where we can plug them in. And if there's adequate bandwidth, I know that we can get our work done.
Now, you're saying more people are contractors versus employees. Talk to us about the development of entrepreneurship. That's the center point of this show, people starting their own businesses. Shared workspace is a perfectly a place for them to go collaborate and work. Talk to us about what you've seen since your inception in the business in terms of this entrepreneurship.
Well, entrepreneurs have always trended at the leading edge of services and real estate. And generally, when you start a company, you're kind of bootstrapping it, so you don't have a lot of excess cash, and you try and use that cash as effectively as you can. And that first starts with flexibility. Are you going to grow real fast? Well, you don't want to commit to a small space. Are you going to grow real slow? You don't want to overcommit to too much space, so you need flexibility. The other thing that you generally need are services on demand. You might need a receptionist for a big meeting you're planning, or clerical or secretarial support, but you might not need that person full time. And bringing in a temp is really not an adequate solution anymore. So on-site staff, in our case, works out extremely well. Same with meetings and conference rooms. You might have a meeting for you and your banker one day for 2 people, for you and your banker and all your partners or your board the next day for 6 to 8 people, and then you might want to do a training session on your new product a week later for 40 people. Very few small companies have all those facilities at hand, and yet our centers and the centers in our industry generally do. So it's a high degree of flexibility first, and that flexibility drives profitability.
What about the rise of entrepreneurism though in the last 5 years? And I'm 39 years old. I've seen a few cycles so far, but the word entrepreneur is in the news so much more. How was it in the 80s and 90s? Was the entrepreneur out there to the degree they are today?
I really think so. I think we talk a lot more about it today because our economy has shifted. We talk about the sharing economy and the gig economy, things of that nature, and that's more contractor work. But there are new companies started. We work with a number of the large corporate formation companies that create entities, legal entities, and there's about 6 million new entities, new companies formed in the United States every year. Mm-hmm. And that grows a little bit, but it's fairly stable. It's the amount of employment that those entities contribute that's important. And within that group, about 2/3 of them are holding companies. And 1/3, or about 2 million new companies every year, are operating companies. If that doesn't reek of entrepreneurialism, I don't know what does.
I wonder, though, because so much of the new business is service-based, when is it going to be affecting our economy that we're not producing products, we're all trying to service one another? What's your opinion on that, service versus product?
Well, that's why we're global. Different economies have different strengths, obviously, and ours is a technology and a product creation environment. We may say we're all in service businesses or sitting at desks and computers and we don't manufacture anything, but we generally invent and manufacture the technologies that are used globally for every part of the economic structure. If there's a new robotic system made, we probably did it. If there's a new battery system made, we probably did it. It might be manufactured somewhere else, but we probably invented it.
The idea was started here. Good discussion, good points right there. Frank Cottle, CEO of Alliance Virtual Offices. Learn more, alliancevirtualoffices.com, an international brand specializing in shared workspace environments. And I know in Tampa Bay, there's good demand for that. And also with the change in the workforce, millennial generations coming through, the habits and the practices of our workforce are changing. So I want to talk to him a little bit about what he's seeing in the millennial generation when we come back from the break. Again, Frank Cottle, CEO of Alliance Virtual Offices, that website, alliancevirtualoffices.com. You're listening to That Business Show 2.0.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Welcome back to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes a show business. New episodes each weekday morning, 9 a.m., thatbusinessnetwork.com, and made available on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. Please subscribe on iTunes. Please leave a review. It helps the show grow. It helps our message get out to more and more people in those search engines, the more reviews and the more subscribers that we have. So please help spread the word, help spread the message of entrepreneurism across the globe. Today, we're talking about shared workspaces with Frank Cottle, CEO of Alliance Virtual Offices. Learn more at alliancevirtualoffices.com. And Frank, you know, the workforce is changing. You know, the baby boomers, the greatest generation of all time, are on their way out. The millennials are said to be even larger than this, the baby boomer generation. They behave much differently. They think much differently. In terms of workspaces and their work habits, what are you seeing from your millennial clients?
Well, I think the biggest word that would describe the need of how millennials gravitate and work together in our industries certainly would be community. Community is replacing a lot of traditional social structures, and as communities join, and as they join in a workplace or create a workplace, we see the emergence in our industry of and the migration from classic business centers and executive suites, which were very walled in private offices, to more open space and communal workspace, and a lot of the emergence of what you've heard about, probably co-working centers. They still combine the same people, place, and technology that our industry has always combined, but the emphasis that they add is a sense of community, a sense of belonging. That spawns a lot of entrepreneurialism.
You know, a good friend of mine who's a great speaker talks about the different eras that we've lived through, and I don't want to get into all his theory, but he says we're in a collaborative age. We're entering the era of people working together. How does the idea of the collaborative age speak to you with all your experience behind the workforces?
Well, I think 25 years ago or 20 years ago, pre-dot-com era, if I was an entrepreneur, I would start a company. Hopefully, I had some capital with which to do it, and I would then have to go out and seek people with which to collaborate. I'd have to find partners and find employees, people that had different skills, etc. Today, I can do the same thing. I can go into a business center or a co-working center, and there's a high likelihood that within that community, and it might be a specialized community, maybe it's a media-based community or a design architectural-based community, a center that has a lot of those people in it. And I can probably find half of, maybe all of what I would need right within that center. I can find lawyers to help me with startups. I can find accountants to help me hopefully pay my taxes because I want to be profitable. And I can find designers and programmers and people with media skills, et cetera, to help me build my company, either on a gig basis, as needed, or maybe I can form permanent partnerships.
We're also hearing a lot that millennials are not so focused on that 40-year career, that they plan to have 3, 4, 5 different careers. Are you seeing that in your millennial clients so far, or how is that affecting you in the shared workspace environment?
Yes, I really am. And today, the common skill set probably are technology skills, not necessarily just invention and development of technology, but how to use technology. And in the building of a business, that's critical today. And if you have those skills, it really doesn't matter what business you're building. You don't have to be an expert at building wheels and stay building wheels. You can build wheels and barrels and engines just as well if you know how to use technology. So that's a huge driver. And there's an innate comfort level in the current generation of millennials with the technologies that are necessary to build businesses. But
that trend is happening, though. We're going to see people with shorter career lengths, just more of them.
Absolutely. And I've referenced the gig economy. A lot of people, they have a skill set and they really don't want to have an employer. They might have 3 or 4 different groups that they work for, and they provide their particular skill to those groups as a contractor. And they work a series of short-term gigs, a day, a week, a month, a few months at a time. But there's a constant flow of that. And that is your pure, you could say, independent solopreneur who's not building a company, but can make a very good living if they have the right skill sets.
What are you seeing in terms of the virtual offices where people are in, one city working with another city, they have an employee in another city? What are you seeing in terms of just the virtualness of things?
Well, virtual offices generally are a light version of a conventional co-working or business center structure, using the same facilities, but providing people, place, and technology, but the emphasis on space that's dedicated is removed. So you would have an office address and location at a facility, at a business center or co-working facility. Your mail would be handled there. Your telephony might be handled there. In all likelihood, it would be. You'd have access. That's the point. Access to workstations, meeting rooms, conference rooms, private offices, but purely on demand. And in the restructuring of the corporate economy, an awful lot of positions have, people have been told, well, you got to work from your house, or you need to do this, or you need to do that, or you're on the road. But they've come back to recognize that they do need a business presence, but they want everything on demand. And I think that's the big element with a virtual officing structure. You don't pay for anything you don't use.
I know in our marketplace, there is such demand for shared workspace. I have some friends that use it, and they'll go to the facility on some days and they can't even get a space. I was like, well, you're paying your monthly fee and they can't even guarantee you a spot when you need it. And they're like, yeah. That's just it. I was like, so I don't know are you experiencing that type of demand also, where you can't always even get people into an office?
Yeah. There's a tremendous amount of demand. It's almost like having a hot restaurant in town sometimes. And by the way, that demand is driven by the popularity of the community, not just the facility, but the community within the facility. But there are reservation systems. We have booking and reservation systems, again, just like a hotel company would. So if you want to be a space, you might not just drop in, but you might say, I need a space tomorrow for 4 hours. You can book anything very easily. And then we're creating a product, sort of a desk pass type product, where you can buy a card, or an app actually, and then have access to not one facility, but maybe 25 to 50 facilities within a specific marketplace, or worldwide, thousands of facilities. So it's very much like an airline, a lounge or club card type structure.
So 700 plus offices, international brand. Where's Alliance Virtual Offices headed then? You've had such success throughout your career. You seem like the type of person who always wants to innovate and develop. Where do you go from here?
Well, we keep going upward and onward in only one direction, and that's forward. And then only one speed, and that's as fast as we can. I think that what we like to do is make things easier and faster for the customer. You used to need an office. You used to have to hire an attorney and negotiate a lease, and then buy furniture, and then hire a staff just to get into business. And we like you to be able to walk in 1 minute, say, I'm here, and have a private office, have a complete staff, have all the technology you need to support your company, and have it very flexible.
I want to ask you about the idea of sustainability. A lot of business owners come in and out of business. I don't get a lot that have 30, 40 years of brand building behind them. What do you attest that success to? Did you build a model early on and keep following that same model over and over again, and then just innovate or change with the economic times? Or talk to me about sustainability. How did you think you were able to last?
I think sustainability comes with listening to your customer. We've always been a very service-oriented organization. We think that's critical. We consider ourselves a service company, not a real estate company. So I think that's elemental. And then, staying a couple of years ahead of the curve. And that is always watching new innovative technologies, paying attention to generational shifts, such as you mentioned just a moment ago about millennials versus baby boomers. That's critically important. Overall, and then redesigning and updating facilities to stay, with the pack or ahead of it. There's no magic to it. It's just paying attention to your core business and People ask us what we think we're best at, and we generally say that we like to think of ourselves as the best students.
Very cool. Expansion, are you moving into any new areas right now, or just continuing to develop by building by building?
Oh, yeah. So we're expanding this year materially into the Middle East, where we started about 10 years ago. Effectively, we're continuing to expand in that area throughout all of the Middle East, Russia, Africa. Places like this where they're very vibrant economies, but not always real stable political situations,
right.
And that creates a lot of demand for our type of services. We like to bring that entrepreneurial spirit to places that have not experienced it.
Well, very good discussion. Frank Cottle, congratulations on the success that you've had in your business. We wish you many more years of success as well. CEO of Alliance Virtual Offices. Again, thank you so much for being with me today.
My pleasure.
And again, AllianceVirtualOffices.com, an international brand specializing in shared workspaces. So if you need an office, consider the shared workspace model. So some great information coming out of today's program. Catch new episodes each weekday morning at 9 a.m. ThatBusinessNetwork.com, and find us on iTunes and on YouTube. And please subscribe and leave a review on iTunes. Again, it helps the program grow. So you've been listening to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.